welcome, and welcome.
We are live here on Twitch TV. The Comic Convo Express is here. We in the house. And we are live on Twitch TV/PevGamer. Don't forget that. We want interaction from you guys. If you're watching us live, please give us a shout out, a holla. We'll acknowledge you. We give you props. You're part of the show just like we are.
Whoa. Who fed you ecstasy this morning? Back it up a little.
It's the dubby. There you go. Get my dub on. But anyway, you can check us out on our YouTube channel as well. And
oh my lord!
Wow, it bounced right back onto us. Yeah, and also if you watch on YouTube, Pev Gamer, he likes to put some special magic on the show. Check it out. You'll see the difference from Twitch and YouTube, as well as our Patreon channel. Hit like and subscribe on YouTube, and we'll bring it on every 2 weeks. We got this. So Pev Gamer, what's going on with you?
Are you okay? You seem like you're panicking a little bit, but I'm doing good, man. How are you both doing? It's been a while.
Yeah, I have. We had that 3 week span.
Welcome back. Good to be back.
Good episodes, and now we're back. We got all this energy. We got a lot to talk about today. So bring it.
Alrighty, my friends. So, just to reiterate, you can see this show live over on twitch.tv/PevGamer. We go live every 2 weeks, so the possibly first or second Saturday of the month. I gotta look at how that works. But today's episode 5 of our first season. We're going to be discussing TV and movies versus the comic character adaptions. So, what's going to happen is Tommy and Pedro are going to debate certain things about certain comics and movie counterparts, or even the TV and animation adaptations. So we're going to start with segment 1. We're going to be talking about The Dark Knight. That's right. The first segment's going to be all about Christopher Nolan's Batman series versus the Batman comic book series that's running and published under DC Comics. I'm going to let Tommy start us off. Tommy, take it away.
All right, guys. Welcome again. Welcome. The Dark Knight trilogy, like Pete said, written by Christopher Nolan, took its inspiration from the Batman comics, but wasn't a direct adaptation of it. Here's a breakdown. The Dark Knight trilogy, Batman Begins, which was 2003, The Dark Knight, which was 2008, and then The Dark Knight Rises, which was 2012. Yep.
It was a good series. It was a good trilogy by Christopher Nolan.
Yeah. Right. It was a darker, more realistic tone. Its focus was about the aspects of the character and the gritty underbelly of Gotham City. Basically, it was hood and really ghetto. Like Pete said last one of the pods, that
Gotham's the ghetto.
It was really, really dark and gritty.
You still want to pay that rent in Gotham? No, I'll pass.
Again, the Batman comics vary depending on the storyline and the creative teams that work on them. Some stories are grounded and serious, while others embrace the elements of superheroes. Dark Knight trilogy portrays a brutal conflict Batman haunted by his past. The comic explores the wider range of emotions and motivations for Batman. Villains, of course, you got your Joker, you got your Ra's al Ghul, you got your Scarecrow. Speaking of those, that cast was amazing. Notably, there was no Robin in this for some reason. I don't know why. I guess they excluded him out. But he also plays a huge role in the comics, which he's Batman's sidekick. Speaking of the cast, you got your Joker, rest in peace, Heath Ledger. It's crazy because no matter how many Jokers come out after him, I mean, don't get me wrong, the first Joker from Batman 1989.
That was Jack Nicholson.
Nicholson. He nailed
did a
the
pretty
role.
Good job. Yeah.
He nailed the role, but it seems like any Joker after Heath Ledger, for some reason, just can't nail the part like he did. Again, Heath Ledger, for this role, he actually locked himself in a hotel for over a month, and he dedicated his soul and life to play this character.
And it was a different take compared to the past Jokers.
Yes.
We had Cesar Romero, who played the original Adam West.
From the series.
Yes, from the Adam West Batman. And between that one and going Jack Nicholson, very similar on how they portrayed the Joker. And then Heath Ledger comes with a different goth-style Joker
I completely
just-
disagree with you on that one. Jack Nicholson definitely had a darker tone to the Joker with quirks or smaller little jokes and where Caesar Romero.
Here and
Oh,
there,
of
yeah,
course.
yeah.
Yeah.
You're
Okay,
right.
that's fair. Give his opinion. No problem.
Again, Jack Nicholson, he nailed the role, but Heath Ledger just took it to a whole
Whole
nother
new level, and it's very hard to replicate. And they tried. What's the Joker movie with
This guy, Joaquin.
Phoenix?
Yeah.
And you sympathize with that Joker, but at the same time, it's not the same Joker that Heath Ledger did. So
I mean, different takes,
different
actors.
takes. No one could ever top them. That's
But the
my
Joker
thing.
movie was actually really good.
It was good, just different.
I'm a little iffy on part 2, what's coming out with Lady Gaga. Oh, man.
Ugh,
It's supposed to be a musical, but
We'll get back to
we'll-
Dark Knight.
we don't want to talk about
But the
Bruno.
Dark
You
Knight.
can talk about it. I just have no faith in it.
Yeah, I mean,
I feel your pain.
they should have gotten Taylor Swift, but that's probably my opinion.
And again, the other characters that played a role, Tom Hardy, he nailed Bane. But I got one gripe, his voice. I just wasn't a really big fan of that.
I didn't like the costume, the mask itself. It looked like he was wearing a piece of a Darth Vader mask. It just,
Could I actually interject on this too? Because I have a huge beef with Bane in that movie. And it's solely because, right, Bane in the comic books... Yes, I'm getting involved in this episode. I don't care. So, Bane in the comic books is a South American warlord. He's extremely intelligent. He is a crime lord, and everybody fears him, right? But they also respect him. Then when he goes on his drug rant with, Venom, it ends up poisoning him. He loses a lot of his intelligence. He just becomes this big-ass brute, but he still has his control. Where in the movies, it kind of felt like he was more of like... Sort of, yeah. I actually think he was more of a anarchist than actual Bane.
Correct.
and his body never grew during the movie. So again, it's,
Oh yeah, the difference in the comic, he had a drug called Venom, which he took.
but I give it props for them
Like,
being
give
brave
him
enough
strength.
to do that scene where they broke the back, like in the comic.
Oh yeah,
Before Nightfall.
we'll talk about that.
And we'll talk about that, yes.
We'll talk about
but
that.
I just want to give a shout out to Christopher Nolan for doing that scene in that movie, because to me that was the best part of that.
That
movie.
was amazing. That
But,
was sick.
And it also like it sped up throughout the movie about how Batman recovered from that, but at the same time it was like too short. Like,
Yeah,
you
they
could've-
kind of not rushed it, but they kind of breezed through it.
Yeah,
in
but,
a sense.
but that's when you realize Bane is a threat, but at the same time it's like Batman recovered from that. That's Batman, I guess.
And again, he had a nasty Jedi Master in there. He's my boy Qui-Gon Jinn, Leslie
Yes,
Nielsen.
from Batman
He
Begins.
nailed it. Nailed it as Ra's al Ghul or
Yes.
Ra's al Ghul, either or.
Two ceremonial swords used by Rish al Ghul.
Yeah,
Same-
however we
same
pronounce
guy.
it, but it's the same guy.
Then you got Morgan Freeman was in there, and then you had a great English actor named Michael Caine,
Who played Alfred?
who played
yes.
Alfred, correct. And then you had Gary Oldman,
Gary Oldman played Commissioner Gordon.
Commissioner Gordon. Then we also had
Well, before he was
cameos
Commissioner.
of Catwoman,
And Hathaway, yes.
and then we had
Hathaway.
Scarecrow. Fun fact, what's his name? Killian Murphy?
Yes.
The actor with the blue eyes, that's how I know him by.
He won an award.
Yes,
Yes.
he did.
Either Academy or an Oscar. I'm not sure which one it was, but he won an award for the movie
Oppenheimer.
Oppenheimer.
Yeah,
Yes.
great movie.
Yes.
That was good. He should play Doom. Oh my god.
But he did a good job as Scarecrow, though.
I'm saying the upcoming movies in Marvel, he should play Doom. He looks like a Doom.
Well, we'll get back to
We'll
that.
get to that.
later.
All right.
Yes.
Now staying on the DC topic.
Wait, I kind of like where that was going.
We don't want to jinx the
Yeah, we
Fantastic
kind of
Four
want to stay a
movie.
little focused.
Yes.
I know
Fair enough.
we jump off track. The actor again, Killian Murphy. He actually there's a behind the scenes that I saw on the movie trilogy. He actually auditioned for Batman, and there's actually scenes of him in the bat suit
Yes.
fighting bad guys, which was amazing. He did good, but Christopher Nolan said, "Oh, you did a great job."
Be the
Hello,
Scarecrow.
Christian Bale. You're working. Do you need a job? So he brought him over, and then the rest is history. But he nailed the part as Scarecrow. I thought he did
And
really, really
didn't
good.
he show up in the sequel, The Dark Knight? He showed up in the beginning of it.
Yes,
Even though he got beat
he
quick.
did.
But still, it was good that, the continuity between Batman Begins and Dark Knight was still there,
Can I ask you guys something actually just on that? Do you guys have a favorite media adaptation of Scarecrow outside of the comic books? I know for myself it's the Arkhamverse, so Arkham Asylum, Arkham Knight, but what about you guys?
I like the one from the movie, the trilogy.
That's your favorite?
Yeah, Cillian Murphy did a good job on it.
He did a really, really good job.
Okay.
And even though majority of the time he was without the mask, with the mask he was a lot scary, and with the way the special effects looked, and how he used the gas that he would use to make his fear him and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It was spot on point. I thought it was pretty good. He did a fantastic job as the Scarecrow. I thought we should have more of them, but again, you have too many villains in one movie, so you got to share time it. So.
Man, sounds like Spider-Man 3.
Yeah, Spider-Man 3 had that same mistake. Bunch of other movies too, so let's just keep them up. Yeah. But he did pretty good as the main villain, even though Ra's al Ghul was also the headliner and stole the show on that.
He did a really good job in that movie too, man.
Did you guys know, just for fun fact, and I'm not going to put this as a fun fact on the edited version, but in Injustice 2, Scarecrow is voiced by I think the second actor to play Freddy Krueger.
Oh,
really?
Nice.
Oh, the guy who played Rosarch in The Watchmen.
You think you inspire fear?
Really? Fun facts.
Nice.
Oh my God, you just took that away from your screen now.
Yeah, it's alright.
But go on.
The trilogy creates a cohesive narrative arc for the characters, focusing on themes of fear, justice, and corruption. It borrows elements from various comic storylines, but doesn't directly pinpoint one comic where it actually extracted from. Comics Batman has a vast and complex continuity of numerous storylines. The source material for the movies include Batman Year One from 1987 from Frank Miller and David, what's his last name, Pete?
David Mazzucchelli.
David
If I said it wrong, I apologize, but it is very hard to pronounce. And I think I came closer. So
I kept saying David Michelizzi's, but that's the ice cream. Michelizzi's.
I got accused of even calling it Massachusetts, so that's.
Mickahodian.
And if I'm wrong, I apologize. But he is a great artist.
Dave from Massachusetts. The Killing Joke from 1988, Alan Moore, drawn by Brian Bolden. Amazing story. If you can ever read this, get it. Like I said, this movie trilogy is taken from bits and pieces from all these books. The Long Halloween, which was a 13-issue arc story that ran in 1997 from Joseph Loeb and Tim Sale.
Tim Sales.
The Dark Knight trilogy is considered a landmark achievement in superhero cinema. Praised for its performances, action sequence, and exploration of mature themes. Comic books. Batman comics have a rich history of continue to be a popular source for material. Oh, and again, fun fact, The Dark Knight Returns, where they took the idea for the military Batmobile, and actually it had like the Bat bike or something inside. Yeah.
Oh, yes, the tumbler.
It had the Bat motorcycle inside that Catwoman eventually rode. They took that from Dark Knight Returns, because in some scenes in The Dark Knight Returns where Batman, we'll talk about Dark Knight Returns, and they had the tank idea from that comic to implement it in the movie.
That was actually one of the cooler scenes. Like, if you go compared to the regular series, I think that they introducing the tumbler was a lot better than the comic itself. Yeah. Even though the comic, makes the Batmobile stylish and cool and everything like that, but the tumbler looked like you could take out any beating, no matter who he fought.
Because the Joker shot him with a grenade launcher, and he blew up the back, and then the bat bite came out.
And just, that's what I'm saying. So it's, to me, that was the one thing where the movie did better than the book. So hands down.
And also, like P said before, the Dark Knight Falls, rest in peace. Nightfall. I'm sorry. Rest in peace, Jim Aparo, great artist, drew Batman Forever. That came out in Batman 497 back in July 1993.
Can I tell you guys a story actually about that whole sequence? So in that later issues of that, Azrael ends up becoming Batman.
Yes.
So McFarlane made a limited edition figure of that character, and I searched far and freaking wide to get it. I'm sorry, English, I swear. What happened?
Did you ever get your hands on it?
Yeah, I have it actually upstairs. I'm tempted to grab it.
I ended up getting one, and I was like, all right, have it in my back cave.
And also about the Nightfall, that story arc was amazing because Bane actually broke his storyline was to get even with Batman. He broke all the bad guys out of Arkham Asylum, had them run muck in the freaking Gotham, go crazy, and Batman was trying to bring all of them back to, bring them back to jail. And when he got to the end, he fought Bane, man. He tried to throw a punch at Bane, and it was like nothing. and Bane just beat the hell out of him. And you can see that cover 497 where he lifts him up and he just breaks his back, man. It was sick.
It was one of the sickest scenes ever, but it was awesome.
It's really, really nice.
You know,
one of my favorites.
But that, yeah, I mean, that's where the similarity of the comic and the book goes.
Yeah.
The ending, it just goes its own way. You know, again, Christopher Nolan, he focused on doing his. He does his imprint. Yeah. Like it's not doesn't have to necessarily be the same as the book, even though we want it that way. And it could go either way once it goes away from that, because it could end differently but better, or it could end differently and what was he thinking? Mm-hmm. At the end of that movie, I don't blame Christopher Nolan. I thought it was okay. Mm-hmm. It was somewhere in the middle, and I think it was because the way they fit Catwoman. Now, to me, the best Catwoman is always going to be Michelle Pfeiffer from Batman Returns, but we're not going to focus on that.
Meow.
Anne Hathaway.
She nailed it, though. Michelle Pfeiffer nailed it. No, I'm saying Michelle Pfeiffer.
Michelle Pfeiffer nailed it. She was the Catwoman. She nailed it. She did an awesome job.
What's wrong with Halle Berry?
Yeah. Who's that?
Storm? No. Stick to the X-Men.
Just stay
She's staying on X-Men. I'm not even going to count that Catwoman movie either. But Anne Hathaway was an interesting choice because I hate to see give props to another movie. I saw her movie, The Devil Wears Prada, and I thought she was phenomenal as an actress. So I'm not going to disrespect her on that. However, as a Catwoman character, it was like not even lemons and oranges. It was more like a banana trying to be a watermelon. It was not completely close.
Is that a euphemism?
It was a could have been pause. Anyway,
no pause. It's Pride Month.
It's
Pride Month. It's all good, baby. Pride Month. No shame. We don't discriminate. You love who you love. Love is love.
But I thought that they put her in there. It was supposed to be like they kind of made her like a love interest, like a cat and mouse chase with Bruce. But then it became okay. She's a hero. But she's supposed to be a thief.
I think they kind of put it in there for eye candy
exactly.
Mostly.
And I mean, she was probably eye candy in this too, but the acting just didn't go well with it, and it kind of like messed the way it ended. The only thing that might have saved the ending would have been the introduction of Ra's al Ghul's daughter. It came out of left field how she came into the movie, Talia, her name, in case you all want to know. And the actress, wasn't a big time actress, she was played by Marion Cotillard. I'm sorry if I missed her last name as well. But she did pretty good as her. Came out of nowhere in the story, being behind Bane and everything. I thought it was a good idea, and it kind of saved how the ending did. But it wasn't like an impactful ending like Dark Knight. Dark Knight was impactful from beginning to end. I think out of the whole trilogy, that was the Empire Strike Back of that trilogy. Mm-hmm. And where Dark Knight Rises should have been the Return of the Jedi, it just wasn't even close.
No, but they did have that character. I forgot the actor's name. He played in Looper as the younger version of Bruce Willis in that.
I thought he was going to be Robin.
They actually state, if you watch the movie and go back, there's a part where he's getting his bag from a secretary, and she goes, "Here you go, Robin." And then he finds the Batcave at the end. I don't know if you guys remember that.
But
he falls into
the character name he played wasn't Dick Grayson or any of the other Robins.
They were hinting that it was going to be Robin, but
I think they dropped the ball there too. Which should have had Robin in it. Yeah. So that's where I feel, when you're a director or a writer for a movie, when you're doing an adaptation to the comic, you should always get the creators or the company itself to back you. And, I understand they decided to do
Warner Brothers said money!
Yeah, they said money, and he jumped on it. But he did get creative.
They made a killing in toys, too.
It did show that...
my God, they made a killing.
He did show that he was a fan of Batman.
Yeah.
So, and you could tell by how good this trilogy was. I just think certain aspect, it was like, they could have did more. But it was okay without it. He didn't need to introduce him as a Robin. Because you know what? Before Robin was ever introduced, Batman had a whole, 40 issues or more without Robin in it. Yeah. So he could have just did it without Robin and it would have been fine. The fact that he was trying to force feed it and then try to make Catwoman's
own. But sometimes, in some cases, less is more.
I agree with that.
Less is more. You don't want to put too much on the plate.
Exactly. I think that was my point.
Just hit certain aspects of it.
And Robin didn't even need to be aspected at all.
No. The movie felt actually good.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, the way... So, basically, we're in agreement on the villains in the movie, with the exception, I disagree with Catwoman. The Joker was awesome. Mm-hmm. The Scarecrow was good. Ra's al Ghul was awesome, amazing. And Bane... Could have been. There was room for improvement. Not bad.
Yeah.
So Tom Hardy, by the way, who played Venom, was Bane. So give him props.
What about the Bane's mask?
I still have a problem. He sounded like the way he was talking. He sounded like Darth Vader was talking. I thought James Earl Jones was playing the voice of Bane, but I found out it was Tom Hardy.
Seashell that's on his face.
And I'll tell you right now, the voiceover of Venom when he was Venom compared to Bane, I think Venom was a lot better.
Oh yeah.
So I'll blame the mask itself as to why it didn't work with Bane. But acting wise and fight scenes wise, it looked pretty good. I wish they did the Venoms to make him grow, to jack up, fight Venom, but it didn't happen. But it was okay though. So I think overall the trilogy was good. Now to compare it to the comic book, which is basically the question it is, versus the comic, which do you think is better?
I'd like to see the big, all the characters on the big screen, Pete. But
Okay.
I like the comic. I think the comic hands down is better. It laid out the story, comic wise, and then the just the feel of the comic in your hand, the smell of a comic, which it doesn't really make sense, but to comic people it does. To open up a book to actually delve into the story, to the reality of the book. I'm going comic. Comic over movie, but it was nice again to see it on big screen.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And this wasn't these movies were not bad.
We're not bad at all. And they made, oh my gosh, they made money. Second one made over $1 billion. The third one made over $1 billion.
Yeah. If they were doing like a spin-off multiversal story from the comic book, and let's say Christopher Nolan became the writer, decided he wanted to do it, it would be a phenomenal series. It would work as a comic. Yeah. They decided to do it to a movie, and it's the similar take, as a multiversal storyline. But like when you want to compare which was better, the original is always better than the new. However, Christopher Nolan gave it a good run.
Yeah, gave it a different twist than the comedic.
I said the comic barely edges out. I say the comic book barely edges out.
We didn't even talk about Christian Bale. What do you think of him as a Batman?
Well, I thought it was an interesting choice. But his past movies that he's done, I heard one of the movies.
Psycho.
There you go.
One of the best ever.
I think that psychologically helped him play Bruce Wayne, / Batman.
He said Bruce Banner.
No, I'm looking at your shirt. Hulk smash. No, it had the psychological advantage as an actor, and it helped him be Bruce Wayne, Batman. And the voice, I used to joke around about it, like, I'm Batman. Like, why would you disguise your voice?
I never said thank you. And you'll never have to.
But I understood why, because you're trying to keep Bruce Wayne and Batman
totally
two separate characters.
Yeah.
So, and then it came down to, well, who was better was he good as Batman? Was he good as Bruce Wayne? Bruce Wayne, we didn't see much of, but he actually portrayed it very well, trying to keep it down low, and Batman was just perfect. So that's how we're gonna do it. So there you go,
All right, gentlemen. We're gonna move on just for sake of time. Which this next segment, don't worry about explaining it too well. Too much. Not too well. What is happening to me today? There's something wrong with the way I'm speaking. I might need a dubby.
You need some dubs.
I need some dubs. I need some wins here. So segment 2 is going to be the comparison to Tom Holland's Spider-Man adaptation versus the comic book adaptations. Now, you guys do not have to go super depth into the movies. If you guys want to know what Tommy and Pedro think about the Tom Holland movies, check out our first episode over on youtube.com/Comic Convo Express. We did an entire episode dedicated to Spider-Man. So, Pedro, I'm going to let you start it off and then hand off the ball.
All right. Well, like I said, do it to time straight. I'll do it this way. We had 3 Tom Holland Spider-Man movies: Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. Now, the question is, which is better, those movies or the comic? So, I'm going to compare it real quick. In Homecoming, I would compare Tom Holland's Spider-Man against the Vulture, who was played by Michael Keaton. We had a Scorpion appearance by... what's his name? Shocker appearance by Bokeem Woodbine. Herman Schultz, that was the character's name, which was pretty cool. And it never touched on Spider-Man's origin, but it did adapt most of the stuff from Amazing Fantasy 15 and, how he used his powers and without the whole Uncle Ben situation. Mm-hmm. I thought even though Michael Keaton's an awesome Batman, as the Vulture, it was like questionable only because, not his fault. As an actor, he was great. the armor was an issue. So comparing that to the comic version, where it's digitally, it's smaller, but harness was better, I would give it more to the comic.
I know you guys cannot see it.
Yes.
But one of our fans, Manka, redeemed Big Mad. So as you were saying that, an animation of William Dafoe came up going, "You know how much I sacrificed?"
Well, long Spider-Man movie, but yes, we know what you sacrificed. That's awesome. You said
Just to
that.
touch on what he said.
Yes.
Again, Uncle Ben's death was a major motivation in the comics, but as to say in the movies downplayed the aspect, focusing more on Tony Stark's influence.
Yes. And here's an interesting, fun side fact about the Vulture. He's a grandfather of a hero called Starling, and she is actually dating Miles Morales. For all you Miles Morales Spider-Man fans, he does have a girlfriend who's also a superhero daughter of a supervillain. So I just want to throw that at you. But I thought it was a pretty good movie. It was an MCU movie, basically Marvel Cinematic Universe, not the Marvel Comic Universe. It was good connecting it through the Avengers movies and the Iron Man movies. It was entertaining as heck. The problem is comparing it to the book, not much aspect to it. The costumes are a little bit different, except for Spidey, which Tom Holland did a good job, with the costume, whoever did it. Even they changed it up with the Iron Spider-Man later on, but it's
Which
still,
was my favorite Spider-Man suit.
but just like the comic,
I love
he
that
changed
suit.
his costumes too, so I overshot that. The Shocker's costume was only one gauntlet. In the book, he has two. Let's do better than that. The actor who played him could have worked it out. So there you go on Homecoming. Far From Home, one villain, very easy to talk about. Mysterio, played by Jake Gyllenhaal. Quentin Beck was the character he portrayed.
He nailed that part.
Compares it to Amazing
He
Spider-Man 13.
That's
her
Bubble
first-
Boy.
That was his first appearance. Bubble Boy. But he actually had the Bubble Boy. It was special effects, but it still worked.
He had a miniature Bubble Boy in his head.
I did like how they
Fishbowl!
put a little fish float in there. But I did like how they portrayed him in the movie. They actually updated him from being a stunt man, special effects artist, to an actual illusionist that they used in the movie and trying to get back at Tony Stark. So I think the movie version of Mysterio was a lot better than the comic book. It made it more cooler. Unfortunately, he dies in the end, and we can't really tell if you watch it over back and
He
forth.
might come back.
So that's where they might drop the ball. But I think story-wise, against the book, I still stick by the book only because Mysterio's been around for many years. They have many good stories off of Mysterio.
Great
Where
character.
Far From Home was a good movie for Mysterio, better origin, better fight scene stuff. But it was one movie, and they didn't even use him again after the next movie we're about to talk about, No Way Home.
One thing about that movie that with Mysterio in it. Remember when they had with the elements, the heat? I could have swore that was like Hydro Man, Sandman.
It was all
I was like, oh my god, we're gonna see all these bad
You're
guys.
gonna see all these villains, and it was a special effect.
And it was not real.
He dropped the ball on
Jesus
that.
Christ.
But it was okay because it was Mysterio behind it all. So there
Jesus
you
Christ.
go. Now we go to No Way Home, and by the way,
Boys, hydrate!
hydrate! Get my doob on.
Get your doob.
Thank Fanglewolf for that hydrate.
When you're rocking a
Big boy.
pod, you're chilling with your dudes. When
That's
you're
right.
thirsty, drink some
Some
doob.
doobs. There you go. Get our dub on. Oh, that's pretty good. Got a little energy in there. Now we're really wired. Anyway,
Great.
so now comes No Way Home, and this would be a good time to do that meme with Norman Osborn right now.
You know how much I sacrificed?
If you can do it. Anyway, so they brought this kind of the Sinister Six in this movie, which I loved the idea, but there was only 5 of them. You had William Dafoe's Green Goblin. You had
It almost felt like a multiverse.
yeah, it was like a multiverse
Just
story.
like a multiverse where they brought all the villains in.
And they all came from the all Spider-Man movies, Amazing Spider-Man and the McGuire Spider-Man. Adam Molina returned as Dr. Octopus. Jamie Foxx returned as Electro. Thomas Hayden Church was in this movie. They never gave him credit in the movie, but I think that was him.
They gave him no props.
And yeah, I'm going to give him props. And he came back. And Rice Ifans, if I say your name, I apologize for that. He returned as the Lizard. Again, we didn't see his face, but it was his voice in there. And Doctor Strange, Benedict Cumberbatch was in it.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, my boy from Daredevil, Charlie Cox, was in it. and also coming back, Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield. Now it felt like you said, a Spider-Verse movie.
Yeah,
and
all these characters pulling from
they came from all different universes, and I think that was the best of the Spider-Man movies. Yes.
What's that?
Man, redeemed Tobey Maguire coming out, putting down the pizza and going pizza time.
That's even better, sir, because you got served. Anyway, so I had to say that. So it was the best of the trilogy, I think. It was the number 4 of all time before Avatar jumped back up in there. But it was really good.
Damn you, Avatar.
Do I compare to, if I want to compare it to the book, you could compare it to the Sinister Six storylines, or you could do it with the Spider-Verse. I'm going to do the Spider-Verse movie because everybody loves the Spider-Verse. However, in this movie, it was only 3 Spider-Man. Still worth it because they got the original actors back and they were all together.
Which was
It was awesome. It's better than any of the Spider-Verses ever came out. So, I mean, I tip it over to that movie. But in the comic book, you got different versions as well, like Spider-Man 2099, Miles Morales, Spider-Gwen, Gwen Stacy, Ultimate Spider-Man. Yeah, so it was like one of these tilter moments. But I'm still going to give it to Far From Home because it just touched my heart when that movie came out.
It's nice to see all the main
villains came out.
And the villains, yeah.
So, hands down, I think that was one of the few movies I picked that beats the comic, even though I love the comic.
But one thing I didn't like about that was, drum roll please, Spider-Man has a massive slew of villains. Why would you go back to the same villains?
Because
give me somebody else. Give me some Kraven. Give me some anything. I would take anything other than the original Doc Ock. He died. Green Goblin. He died. Come on, dude.
Well, now if you go by multiversal rules, they're not really introduced yet.
Yeah, but
because these villains were stolen from the other Spider universes.
I got you.
So technically, in future movies, if they do it with Tom Holland, they could introduce a new Dr. Octopus, a new Green Goblin, new Lizard, new Electro, which I think that's the plan. I'm not 100% sure.
Thank you, multiverse, for fucking everything up.
But you know what? I mean,
I think that would be
so incredibly lazy if they make Tom Holland his own version of all of these effing villains we've already seen.
Think about it. We know who to blame for why they didn't do it that way. It's not Marvel's fault, the cinematic universe. No. I blame Sony. I still blame them.
I'm just putting it out there. Marvel did sell off the movie rights to Sony.
Would be this big shiny hero. Who found the clue? Who?
Wow.
Yeah.
No. This is not about being a hero for me.
Before Iron Man 1, if everybody remembers. So technically, Sony should have just saw them when they became its own corporation, give it back, let Marvel deal their stuff and move on. But Sony wants to be greedy, so that's my little bad pill to all this. But No Way Home was still a good movie.
Oh yeah. I'm
not giving credit to Sony on this. I'm giving it credit to my MCU. So there you go. So that's my opinion on that. What's your take?
I'll just touch briefly because we need to move on from this. Tom Holland Spider-Man captures the essence of the character, friendly neighborhood Spider-Man with great powers, great responsibilities, blah, blah, blah. The movies offer, this trilogy offers a modern inspiration appealing to younger audiences and incorporating the popularity of Iron Man within the Marvel MCU. And that's all I got to say about Vietnam.
Enough said.
Yeah, that's pretty much it. Like I said, when Pete covered Homecoming, basically it took inspiration from the Ultimate Spider-Man comic, Brian Michael Bendis, Mark Bagley. Particularly focused on Peter Parker High School, being younger with the relationship with Iron Man as his mentor. Far From Home, inspired from Spider-Man Mysterio Manifesto storyline featuring Maestro? Was it Maestro?
Maestro?
Mephisto.
Mephisto, yes.
As the villain. No Way Home movie draws heavily on the concept of the multiverse, of course, which we touched about. Yes. Spider-Man No Way Home comic events, which featured the return of the past villains from different realities.
Yeah.
I mean, compare from the comic to the big screen. Again, I'm a reader, but it was just really nice to see it on big screen. I would go big screen. I would go to movies. Yes,
So
to say compared
I
to
think No Way
comics.
Home is the winner on movie wise, but I
Yeah.
think comic and Far From Home, I could even say they won.
Yeah.
Homecoming, it's to me it's more separate. It
Yeah.
stands by itself. It's good, but I would still read the book. So
Yeah.
there you go.
Gentlemen, we are going to move on to our next segment. Segment 3, we have DC and Marvel animations versus their comic book counterparts. I'm going to ask you guys to, because again, our second episode of this series was in fact a Marvel versus DC event. Go check that out. YouTube.com/Comic Convo Express. Go back and watch it. It's definitely worth it. So I will ask you guys avoid talking about the combined universe when it comes to comics. And if it can be helped, things we compared in that episode, let's not do the same thing here. Tommy, I'm going to let you run this one.
I'm going to pass the ball to Pedro.
Thank you.
You're open. Shoot it. 3 throw. You said touchdown.
away my ball, damn it!
He said field goal.
Well, I'm going to share something really deep on this, and I will tell you why. The segment is obviously about the comics versus the cartoon, and there's so many cartoons to pick, including this one, which it is the best or closest adaptation to the comic book.
Which series is
The
that?
Avengers: Earth Mightiest Heroes. Highly recommend for everybody who has Disney Plus to watch this whole series. It's just like the book, little tweaks on it because it's more updated version, but still touches everything throughout the history of the Avengers. Now, I'm going to go back in time because this kind of this topic touched my heart. I'm not going to give you my age, so we're just going to talk about the old stuff real quick. My first Marvel cartoon that I ever watched was the 1990, I think it was the 1966 or 67 Marvel Superhero Hour. Everybody remembers it. It was a cartoon that featured the Hulk,
That was epic.
Thor, Captain America, Iron Man, and Namor the Submariner. Now, I think out of the 5 shows, 4 of them was literally taken from the book, drawn by Jack Kirby, and I think Jack Kirby did all of them, and all they did like a motion comic with voice actors doing over it. I was really young when I used to watch it. I remember watching it, when I was really young. I think it was like when I was in pre-K, kindergarten, and I used to watch it on TV, have a little Twinkie inside, watching the show. I mean, dude, I was a fat kid then. But I used to watch that show religiously every day, and my parents would always help me to watch it and encourage me. And that was my first introduction to superheroes. Over the years, as I was getting older, I got into the Spider-Man's 1967, with the Spider-Man. So that Spider-Man show was awesome. Watched it all. But it was different from the comic. Most of the villains didn't show up. I think a few of them did squeak in, but it was completely different from the book. So I'll just reiterate that. Then I also watched the Batman cartoon. I mean, actually, before the cartoon, I actually watched the campy version with Adam West, who played Batman, with Robin. Loved that show. We used to see that in the evening instead of the morning. Very classic, very campy too. And then, a lot of Batman fans, would turn away from it. It helped us get into the world of, okay, there's a DC universe and a Marvel universe.
Rest in peace, Adam West.
Adam West. And then I also got into the Hanna-Barbera Fantastic Four, which I spoke about last time.
Okay.
And it introduced me to the Fantastic Four, another Marvel series as well, but it was done by Hanna-Barbera. It was actually similar to the comic. So, I just thought it was pretty cool, the powers and everything like that. And it kind of like, I was getting into the superhero universe. Mind you, he gets my age at the time was Bugs Bunny and all the Mickey Mouse and stuff. But I wanted more superheroes. And I got so greedy into it that I ended up getting into the other Hanna-Barbera shows, like Space Ghost, the Herculoids, all the shows, the Galaxy Trio.
Hanna-Barbera World of Super Friends.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. And it also was a stepping stone to when Hanna-Barbera did Super Friends. The Challenge of the Super Friends was my favorite one. I didn't like the first when they introduced it, but I was so happy to see Batman, Superman, Aquaman, Wonder Woman all on the same team.
She had a jet with it was
the invisible jet.
Yeah.
Look, they had stupid moments, but they were when you're my age at that time, I was I love this. Now, mind you, it was a DC thing. That was the interesting part. But I was so into the Super Friends. And then somewhere in the 80s, Super Friends was still going on. They challenged the Super Friends. They introduced the Flash, Hawkman, Green Lantern, and then some heroes that I never heard of, like Apache Chief and the Samurai, which threw
I used
me
to
on the
love
loop.
Apache Chief.
But it was good to watch on that show. And then Spider-Man's Amazing Friends came out, which before that was the Spider-Man show. It was
Firelord.
very short, and then all of a sudden
Firestorm.
Spider-Man's Amazing Friends with Firestar and Iceman.
He's doing.
And little by little, they were introducing us Captain America, which brought back that old Captain America show to me. And then Namor showed up on that show. Iron Man, Thor, Hulk.
Daredevil, I think, made a cameo.
Yeah, they all did.
Yeah.
Everybody who was in that old Marvel superhero hour showed up in Super.
was
That's when I
amazing.
realized they were connected to Spider-Man. It was somehow connected. It was like the X-Files for me.
Nice.
So I started watching more, and I guess up until that point, I'm going to stop right before X-Men 91 when they first came out. But I saw Super Friends, I saw the Spider-Man. They had the live-action Flash show, if everybody remembers, with Wesley Shep, who played the Flash. I watched that. And then the Batman cartoons from animation that came out also in the 60s, and they also had Superman. Had his own show on The Flash, Green Lantern. It was like the Justice League, but separate shows. And they were very short, but it was very entertaining. And I guess what I'm trying to say is whether the cartoon, those shows we grew up on. We loved it. It helped us get into superhero shows and eventually want more with movies and cartoon shows. And whether they were adaptations or whether they were adaptations from the comic, it was our first introduction. Like if I was really young, basically, I wasn't born reading comic books. I literally watched cartoons like everybody else. And when they had those superhero shows, we loved them. We didn't know there was Marvel versus DC until we started seeing them crossing over. And you wonder, well, why can't we see Superman team up with Spider-Man? Well, they're two separate universes. Someone had to explain that.
I kind of thought they were all one big universe.
And when one day someone told me it's a comic book adapted to the show, I didn't believe it, and I was too young to go to the comic store on my own. I had to wait until I was older, and then I was my side story. I was inherited some books that one of my uncles had left behind, and that's when I found them, read them, and I was like, oh my god! I used to watch this on cartoon, and it's in paper form, and I could read them, and it encouraged me to read a lot when I was younger. But I was limited based on what we had, and I didn't get to go to a store and find it I found it in a pharmacy, believe it or not in a comic store. Well, I saw they had a rack of comics. And I remember my first book I picked out from that rack was Captain America 349. It was where Captain America had the captain suit before U.S. Agent came in.
Yes.
And I took it home. I was excited to read it. I read it, and I was like, oh my god, this is going on right now. I'm older. I'm enjoying this. This was like the cartoons, but this is better. Like story-wise, it was 10 times better. Looking back at it now, I realized that the books are 10 times better than the cartoon. However, the cartoon, it's paying homage to the book.
Yeah.
And they're trying to simplify it so, in the cartoon form back then so we could get into it. And it worked for
kind
me.
of making it like a simpler form.
Exactly.
And it's more visual, and it's a lot of it's for all ages.
Of course, yes.
Yeah.
Even if you were older back then, you probably was. If you were a fan of the book, you got into it, and it was really good. It was like bringing it to life. And I respect the cartoon. Even now with the newest cartoons that came out, if it's not like the book, we're very hypercritical on it. But there's going to be somebody out there, younger, who loves the show, never read a comic book, will see like Earth Mightiest Heroes and be like, oh, like that's a comic book? Wait till they get older and they start looking for these books and they read them and they're going to be hooked because they're going to get to that age where, okay, I remember how what they are, what they're like, how their powers are, how the adventures they look. Imagine if you put them in a different scenario and the books will bring it to them. And it's going to test them and you're going to find out that it's literature. And the literature is going to be very entertaining for the kid inside you. Mm-hmm. So that's how I look at it. And, if it's a versus, I think the comic books always has the edge because of the stories and the artwork. Because every couple of months, there's a new writer that comes in, gives this fresh perspective, or new artist that would
a new creative team.
Yeah, a new creative team. And the cartoon, they'll have maybe 80 episodes, but it ends, and they'll move on to other projects, and it just stays the same. But it might have been your stepping stone to getting into the comic or the movie itself. Some people never saw the cartoon, but saw a movie. They loved it, it's a stepping stone to go on and check out the book, because if you like the movie, the book is 10 times better. And I stand by that. So I had to tell that story, and I brought the cartoons out from back then. I mean, if I go now, there's so many adaptations: Teen Titans, Justice League Unlimited, Avengers, the X-Men. It just they're all adaptations. But we're at the age where if some of us read the book, we could be critical and say, "Oh well, it's not like the book." But you get the best of both worlds too.
Yeah.
So
I'll just touch on what he said. Back in '86, I was in a hospital. I had a surgery, and my mom brought me some comics, and one of them was actually Crisis on Infinite Earth. I had the death of Flash and I had the death of Supergirl. And my mom shout out to Jerry Ordway, George Perez, Marvin Wolfman, who created that series. And I remember my mommy bringing me these comics. I was real young. I must have been 10, 9-ish or 10, and I was going for surgery. And my mom just went to the corner store, got me some snacks, and she brought me a stack of comics. So I'm reading them, and I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. To me, the images came like alive off the paper for some reason. And again, that comic smell, you can never ever replace that. So I read these stories, and the reason why I talked about that specific story, because fast forward to now, I saw recently the animated DC version of Crisis on Infinite Earth, and they actually have a part 3, which is dropping. Now, again, I went back and as I got older, like P said, you get some money, you get a job or whatever,
you start buying
and
books.
You get comics, so you start buying books. So I went back and got the 12-issue story miniseries, read them all, blew my mind, and as compared to the anime, which I saw recently, it seems like the books focused on what it focused, laid the story, the groundwork or whatever.
Yes.
But they made the anime series, a little more kid-friendly, I want to say. Because I'm watching the show on the TV and I'm like, I don't remember that. Why is that in there? Why is this dragging? And I'm like, 12 issues, you could kind of fit them in, 3-hour movie or 2-hour movie or 2 parts. Now they're making a third part.
Right.
So I'm thinking, how much more are they going to keep adding in? But the difference between the comic and the animation, I love the comic, but it's still nice to see something on the big screen.
Yes.
For example, my daughter, she's 9. Shout out to Angie, I love you, baby.
Awesome.
It's something for her to sit down with me to watch, and she's comfortable watching it. And as she gets older, she's gonna be like, "Hey, Daddy, do you remember that movie that we saw, the cartoon, the anime? Do you have comics on it?" And I'm gonna be like, "Here you go, baby." She's gonna sit and read it and be like, "Daddy, the book was 10 times better than the movie." Again, it was still nice to see it on the big screen.
It is.
As opposed to reading it, but I still like I like the comics. I'll just touch on this real quick. DC Animation strengths known for its faithfulness to source material, darker storylines, and high production quality. Because we all know DC, they nail it in the anime.
Yes, they did.
Examples: Batman animated series, Superman animated series, Justice League Unlimited, the DC AMU. Marvel Animation strengths diverse range of shows catering to a different age group in humor and action-packed stories. Examples: X-Men animated series, X-Men 97, Spider-Man animated series, Spectacular Spider-Man, The Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. Again, me personally, I love the comics, but it's still nice to see it on the big screen. Yeah.
Even if they don't get it right, like there's been a couple of misses over the years. There was an event before the Earth's Mightiest Heroes. There was the Avengers.
Ultimate.
It was if I can remember the title of the book. It's so bad I couldn't remember it.
That's a good thing.
It was an Avengers team that didn't have Cap, Iron Man, or Thor.
West Coast Avengers?
It wasn't West Coast Avengers. I think it was called
U.S. Agent, baby.
I just remember Ant-Man was the leader of the team, which was
Ant-Man.
Yeah, I know.
What the hell's going on there?
But I watched it anyway. It sucked, but you know what? It still didn't deter me from picking up the book and saying, you know what? I'd rather read the book than the show. But it was nice to know that. To me, it was sucked, but somebody's watching it, got into it, and be like, you know what? I like this Avengers. But no judgment here. But at the same time, it's to each his own. And you know what? It's a stepping stone because the show is supposed to be aimed for kids. It's cartoons, by the way. Gotcha. Older ones, not the newer ones. New ones could go for any demographic. But back then, it was all aimed for kids, and they tried their best to either make it kiddish, or they simplified it so it was still good for the adults, but the kids would enjoy it.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like a give and take. You can't really bash the cartoons, even though I bashed that one cartoon, or maybe a few others.
I lied.
But there's others that forever bashed when I did. There's a masterpiece that came out. Earth Knights Heroes, X-Men 97, Invincible. There's all Justice League Unlimited, Batman the Animated Series. They're all like, it's all art. It could be done either way. You either get in, you can either pick up your first comic or you can watch your first cartoon. So it kind of like, it goes hand in hand. So same thing with the movie. It could be your first movie. You didn't know it was a comic book until you went on and looked for it.
Yeah.
So.
All right, gentlemen, we are running a little low on time, so we had a fourth segment planned. We're going to keep that exclusively to our Patreon. So after the show, we are announcing our start of a extra show called The After Hours. It'll be an exclusive 30-minute episode on Patreon that we'll be posting every month. So go on over to patreon.com/Comic Convo Express. I believe the lowest tier is $4.99 or something like that. You get access to all sorts of different things that we do depending on your tier, including extra content, free merchandise, and these awesome commission drawings by our one and only Tommy. Check us out.
We're going to catch a real Pokemon and put it in your package.
What was that? Repeat yourself.
It'll be a bonus. Gotta catch them all.
Oh,
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all. Gotta catch them all.
So that being said, we're gonna move on to we're gonna switch it. We're gonna do our fourth and sixth segment, and we'll save the fifth segment. So, tell me what you guys think about the Amazon's adaptation of Garth Ennis's The Boys and the series Invincible. I will let you start, Pedro. Go ahead. I'm so sorry. That first segment, there was an audio issue.
Oh.
Going back, just when you were talking about the show's not for kids, it's very raunchy and stuff like that. You were talking about
The Boys.
I don't know what happened there. There was an audio issue. Fang just pointed it out to me. So
We were censored.
That's crazy.
Just like they would have done to Amazon if they continue to do these shows. But The Boys is basically, they're trying to keep the superheroes in check. The superheroes are more about public figures. They're an adaptation of the Justice League, and basically they're more like if the Justice League actually did exist, what would they do? And they're not like, they want to be heroes to protect the mankind, to do the right thing. These guys are like, okay, we got powers. We're going to make it look like we're saving the world. Really, we just want to get paid and look, be sponsored and be in the happy life and do what we want. You humans, we'll protect you, but only because we look good on camera. Yep. And the boys are there to make sure they don't step over the line of becoming villains.
Yep. And then a lot of the show in the comic actually revolves around a chemical called Compound V.
Compound V,
in the comics that differ from the show, it's a street drug. People take it and they have superpowers. Or they call them soups for short. And as opposed to the show, it deals mostly about Vault Industries.
Vault Industries, yeah, that's
Vault?
the corporation for them. That's how they get paid.
Yeah,
which was kind of
those
crazy.
are the people that pay everything behind the scenes.
And I mean, if you watch it from a superhero point of view, that probably would make you very upset about it, because like, how could these heroes be like that? But that's how the story goes. And the mind of Garth Ennis is like he was a genius.
He's a genius, man.
I mean, if you ever seen his other show, Preacher, they did a series on that. He also did the book before the series, and that was even crazier.
Hey, Pete, did you see him at a con?
I did. I met him at Terrific Con. Great guy, and I was very happy they came from beyond the pond over here.
August 16, 17, and 18 at Mohegan Sun.
Mohegan Sun.
Can I just put it out there, too? He does not like me very much, and I'm not entirely sure why, because I'm like one of his biggest fans.
I know he loved me. No offense. He loved
what
me.
Happened?
I have no idea. I made a comment because he was talking to my brother in line about one of his... No, okay, that's not the first time. First time I met him, I told him how much I loved Welcome Back, Frank. And he gave me this weird kind of look like, oh, thanks. And I'm like, all right, well, whatever. So then the second time we meet him, my brother's getting, I think it was, I forget, his Boys series signed, yes. And Garth Ennis was talking to him about a book that was released in Ireland and the UK, but it was coming over to the US. And my brother had said to me, what do you think? And I said, anything this man touches is pure gold. And he looked up at me with the nastiest look I have ever effing seen in my life.
Fine.
Dude,
Maybe he thought you were.
maybe he had a bad day.
Maybe he thought you was a flipper.
Maybe, but
Maybe
I
somebody-
love his stuff. So,
maybe
Garth
somebody-
Ennis, I'm sorry.
Maybe somebody
Get
pissed
on
in
the
his
camera, say
cornflakes.
that. Get on the camera, say it.
They
Say it.
pissed in his
Apologize.
Wheaties.
I just did. I'm not doing it
Yeah.
again.
Do it again. It's Garth Dennis. He's the man. I love this
That
run on
sucks that he
Punisher.
did that,
by the
man.
way.
You know,
Yeah.
you got to give some kind of grace and be humble when you meet your fan. I mean, these are people paying your damn bills.
I'm saying.
I mean, if it all comes down to it, you know, as opposed to comic book writers and artists,
Yeah.
if we don't buy your stuff, you're not going to get any money. You're not even going to work.
Well, when we mentioned, I remember when we mentioned the boys from the series, because at the time it came out already, and I wanted to know his opinion on it, because, you know, I always ask these writers this. And his reaction threw me off because he was happy that it happened. I asked if he was on the set, and he was invited to go, and he did see the set. And he was happy how he was doing, but it kind of, he kind of gave me that sense like the boat left without him.
Oh,
And I sat there, I was like, and I looked up his old stuff, and I read the Boys series and everything. And again, you could tell that the series was based off his stuff, which is great. I think the part it might have left without him was they kind of like elaborated the characters.
Yeah.
Like we got to find out more about
more in depth.
more in
A-Train.
depth about the
Yes.
character. A-Train's character, the Deep's character, which is hilarious, by the way. Highlander. Homelander.
There could be
There can only be one. Homelander and like the Butcher. I mean, he's a.
He's a butcher. You
Butcher in the book is a total
jerk.
jerk. The Butcher in the comic book is a total jerk
but
asshole.
he's badass though.
In the series,
Yeah.
they humanified him. So even though he is a jerk, once in a while he'll come out and he humbles himself, and he never did that in the book. So there's the difference, and they add more like in depth to his character that you like him more.
Yeah, he's like more down to earth,
and
more
then
grounded.
And what was that character that you talked about?
Which one?
The Captain America version.
What's his name?
Soldier Boy.
Soldier Boy.
Yeah.
In the book, he had a very small part. It was very important, but it was very small.
Yeah.
In the series, we had a whole season worth of him, and we got to know his character, and he was crazy.
They made him a major role in
Yeah.
the show.
So it was like one of the things where they could coexist, which is better. I still say the comic book. However, the series gives it a run for its money because of the stuff they add to the series. Now, maybe that was the reason why Garth Ennis was in favor to it.
Hey, Garth Ennis, if you're listening, know your role and sign the books.
Sign the book, but you know what?
You jabroni.
He
Do your
speaks
job.
for
Do your
himself.
job.
He speaks for himself.
Do
Me, I'm a huge fan.
Do your job.
I love your stuff. I can understand where
Take my
you're
money.
coming from, and I'll defend you
Sign
on
my
this.
stuff.
However, I will say this: it is good too.
Yeah.
So we won that one. So I would say that about the boys. The Invincible cartoon series took me off guard. I read the book before the TV show came out, and when they told me it was animated, I was like, "Oh, great!" And I'm thinking to myself, "Oh God, they're going to kidify the show." And it was on Amazon. I didn't expect it to be the way it came out. It was very violent, very bloody. It was really cool for a cartoon.
Yeah, it evolves around a character named Mark Grayson who learns he has powers and he learns to deal with it in life.
And they introduced Omni-Man, the
His
father.
dad.
Oh, and it was crazy. They also introduced us to the Guardians of the Globe,
His
big
Poppy.
team.
His
That's. But here's my take on the show. I love the violence. I love the bloody. The storyline was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit different from the comic after the first season. I think what hooked me was in the first season, I could tell it was similar to the comic. Then came the fight at the end of the season. Spoiler alert.
Oh, this cartoon is not for children.
It's not for
animated.
children.
not
It's
for children.
animated. It's not for children.
It
Children,
is so
go to bed early.
brutal and gory and everything you want, and actually in an adult
Like us, we
anime
were like,
series.
holy crap, you know?
Yeah.
That fight scene between Invincible, father and son, Omni-Man and Invincible, blew my mind. It was like watching the book, hooked me onto it. It was a great ending of that season. Went to the second season. It gave, it still took scenes from the book and then went into a little only different direction. It was created by Robert Kirkman. If you know that name,
Robert
think
Kirkman,
of The
baby.
Walking Dead. He is
Walking
also
Dead.
the creator to
He's
him.
a genius.
He's a genius. The artist was created by Corey Walker and Ryan Otley. You know, that's a big name for us. Trust me on that. It had right now it was like the book had 114 issues. It's through Image Comics, another comic book company that if you know Tom McFarlane and Rob Liefeld, you know that.
Savage Dragon.
Yeah, and
Stay tuned for season 2.
So that'll be for season 2.
Season 2, baby.
But
all about Image.
which is better? I mean, I would still say the book was better because it drew me into that world. The series is running for its money as well because of the violence, the bloody, and I think after that first season when it was so close to the book, I thought it was awesome. But after they go second seasons, they try to expand and try to stretch out the storyline. It's like, okay, I'm not happy that it's like the comic, but it's still good. Mm-hmm. So no detail, no. It's not me saying the series was bad. It was still good, and I'll still watch the next season. But I still say the book is better.
Yeah, it was nice to see it from the paper to the screen as opposed to the anime series.
Right.
The anime series took implements from the comic, but again, it's. I watched the first season and I'm on the other season, but it's just very. I mean, if you don't expect any of that and you sit and you just watch it, if you never read the comic, you're going to be like, oh my God, look at that. That's happening. Oh my God, they're killing everybody. What the hell? Like that, the bad superhero group?
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
That was crazy.
That was a bloody bloodbath.
That team, I guess it was before the Guardians of the Globe,
Yep.
They were also a version of the Justice League, except Omni-Man was also Superman and turned on his whole team. I was like, oh my God, what the? Excuse my language. Pause.
Unpause. Or unpause. It's Pride Month.
It's Pride Month.
Yep.
You keep forgetting that part.
It's all good, baby.
But it's a great series.
Brother.
Both series are great. The creators deserve props for creating the comic book. I stand by the comic books on both ends. The series are still good to recommend.
Really good stuff.
And another shout out to Garth Ennis, by the way, side story. My wife also met him that same day because she was a fan of Welcome Bank Frank from the Punisher series.
Okay.
The same one I said I loved, by the way.
I know, big difference. But I think, but just for the record, your mother, my wife, has a way of talking to creators, and us fanboys get pushed to the side so they can conversate to the females. So you females, all of you females have advantages when you meet the creator. But Garth Ennis was really nice to me, to my wife, to my younger son. I don't know what happened to Pev, but he might have said something that took it wrong.
Hey, speaking of that, who gave you the cold shoulder? Was that John Romita? Who was it? I remember there was another creator.
John Romita, but he was really nice when he confronted me. And, my wife was there. He took a little attention away from him, but he was still giving attention back to all of us. George Perez. Rest in peace. I love you to death. I'm glad we met and everything. But the more my wife started talking to him and they were talking about non-comic item, he literally forgot that was there getting my book for himself. But I think in his defense, he probably was tired of talking about the Avengers and Justice League and stuff. That he just wanted to have a conversation about home equities and
real
all this real life stuff. So my wife got a win on that, Laura. You
so
got
you're
this.
heated at George for a minute? Or
No, I wasn't. I never got upset with George Perez. I was a little jelly.
You said, don't let me find you in the bathroom.
I was jelly when she took my
down.
attention from George Perez. I was a little jealous about Garth Ennis, but it was okay because, he was still nice to me. Mm-hmm. And John Romita is a great guy. Even though I lost attention for 2 seconds, he did come back to me and we talked about Spider-Man.
He was humble, man.
He was a very humble guy. I liked him. So shout out to all three of them. I'm down to meet Robert Kirkman. I would like to meet him and Corey Walker and Ryan Otley, which I did see at a convention, but I didn't have books for him to sign at the time, so I couldn't get into the line. Yeah. But it's okay though. And Derek Robertson, would love to come down to Connecticut or New York Comic-Con. So one of those conventions I can meet him. Russ Braun, I give you a huge shout out because you made my younger son's life. It blew his mind when he did the first sketch for him. You also signed it. He took pictures with him.
That's awesome.
As a father who was watching that, I give him props for taking care of it. He looked out for his fans.
Yep.
All right, gentlemen. So we're going to go into our last segment because this is going to be another great episode down in the books. Pedro, Tommy, let's hear what you guys want to hear next, whether it's movie, animation. What are you guys thinking?
Oh, what's next?
Okay, well, I'll take this one first.
All right, go ahead, yeah. I'll pick it back.
Anybody who's doing comic books, like adaptions to cartoons or movies, Here's my one advice for all of you. Whether you're making a cartoon based off a comic book of any kind, get your collaboration together. Reach out to the creators. Reach out to the artists. Reach out to even their bosses, the company. Get everything you need to do to make your series as close as possible to the material. Because you're going to get more fans. First timers will catch on, obviously, but I'm talking about like the ones who follow will literally stay on your series. If you're making a movie, they will watch your movie over and over again. Guarantee you will make it a bigger movie. And I also want to, for the fans who enjoy the cartoons, and search the books. I know you love the series, you love the cartoon. If you hear that there was a comic book adaptation, I highly recommend look out for it when you get old. If you're young and you know it's a comic book, when you get older and start making your money or borrowing your allowance money, I'm telling you, it's the best hobby you could get into. Look for a book, get into the series. It's worth it. I mean, I could have been into drugs. I'll be honest with you. Instead, I used my money to get comic books.
Yeah, I couldn't do drugs because I spent all my money on comics.
And let me tell you, it is worth it. It's
I was hooked on some Spider-Man and some X-Men.
I want that Spider-Man so bad.
I need
gotta get the Avengers. The next issue can't come out soon.
Y'all got Daredevil 300?
I need
you got any Spider-Man back there?
Give me the book. But growing up, it's there. The whole memory of every issue I read, it's here, and that's why we do this. So.
And again, as opposed to if the comics are too expensive, like say the single issues, you could go and buy trade paperback.
That's what I do now.
Either read them off of Amazon. Digital.
You get the full story without waiting the month in between.
Yeah.
So and then the cartoons, memories, dude. It's memory. If you got kids, you could get them into the book. I got my grandkids watching stuff like this and the Avengers and Earth materials and
tell them how you get your granddaughters to go to sleep.
Get them to nap. Make sure they watch an episode before they take a nap.
Of one show.
Right now, Earth Mighty series. I got them watching. I had them watch the entire animated series of Spider-Man, the entire episode of X-Men. They love X-Men. So they're watching Avengers. They're loving the series before they take their nap, and they love it. And they're young. They're like what 3 and 4. They love this show. They don't have money to get the comic book, which I understand. But I know when they get older, they're gonna go be like, "Hey, pops, can you go read the comic book?"
Yeah.
And they'll be interested.
My daughter, I have a picture on my phone that goes years back when she's really young. I have a picture of her in a car seat, and she's reading a comic book, or at least just flipping through it.
Which is like the artwork.
I look at it, it warms my heart. I'm like, oh, hopefully she'll like stuff. She likes Harley Quinn. She likes Harley Quinn. We watched a couple of anime movies with her, and it's good. She likes it. What they got next on the slate, they got Justice League Crisis on Infinite Earth Part 3, which is coming out soon. July 16th.
Yes.
Then you got Batman Aztec, which is to be announced. Then you got Watchmen, actually, which is going to be an R-rated anime series.
Two-part movie.
Yes. That's coming out. And then in Marvel, well, they just had Deadpool and versus Wolverine this year.
Actually, on Disney Plus.
They postponed back the, I'm sorry.
I was going to say, the Spider-Man, the freshman year is coming on Disney Plus in November.
Nice.
Obviously, if you haven't checked it, X-Men 97, great show. They will probably do another What If Volume 3, so be on the lookout for that from Marvel. But
And, like I said, they got Deadpool versus Wolverine, the movie coming out, and they actually pushed back Craven not to step on the feet.
I wonder why.
Yeah, not to step on the feet of Deadpool.
Madam Web.
But I don't really have high hopes for that Craven movie. It's made by Sony, but not for nothing. I liked Morbius. I thought it was okay.
I thought it was okay
on the
too.
Big screen,
everybody downs that movie. I didn't understand. It was okay. I wish Spider-Man was in it, but the standalone was okay. And Venom. Part 3 will be coming out soon, so that's something I'll probably watch, even though I'm nervous. So we'll see.
I've got. I'll just finish with this real quick, guys. I got the top 10 hot books. As hot as there, like it's hot as hell out there in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Or Connecticut in general. You can fry eggs on your car. Number 10, I got Detectives. Detective Comics, $2.98 from 1961. First appearance of the second Clayface, which was announced in the Robert Pattinson Batman 2. So that book is hot. Check it out. Then you got number 9, Tomb of Dracula, first appearance of Blade. I think it's because of the blood hunt and everything that's going around.
Yes.
His movie, again, lost another director, Jesus Christ. Jesus Christ isn't the director, but they lost another director. Number 8, you got X-Men 2 from 1960, first appearance of The Vanisher. A lot of people can't really afford the first actual X-Men from 1963, Kirby and Lee.
Find them in
goodness.
good condition.
So they try to get at least a second appearance of the X-Men, which is part 2. Number 7, you got Hulk 181. Why is the first full appearance of Wolverine. Number 6, you got ASM 41, first appearance of Rhino. Because of the Kraven movie that's coming out, they say he's
Rhino's supposedly the villain, but they're both villains.
Wasn't a big fan of the Andrew Garfield Rhino with the big tech
No,
robot.
the big
dude.
robot.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Nice actor, but wrong character he should have played.
Why?
I don't know.
Number 5, you got Uncanny X-Men 101, first appearance of Phoenix. Number 4, Star Wars 42, first appearance of Boba Fett. Number 3, Avengers Annual 10, first appearance of Rogue with the X-Men. Shout out to Al Milgram, who I believe he wrote it.
He'll be at Terrificon.
Yep. And number 2 is ASM 14, first appearance of the Green Goblins, because of all the Goblin hype. Recently, Spider-Man turned to Spider-Goblin or something?
Yes.
Oh, Jesus Christ. Then you got...
He's
Anyway,
coming
we'll
back.
talk about
He's
that on
coming back.
Patreon, guys. Make sure you sign up for Patreon because we're going to have a conversation. Number 1, Fantastic Four 48, first appearance of Big Purple with no pants, and Silver Surfer. Those are my hot takes of the top 10 of this week.
Really quick, today's convo has been sponsored by Dubby. Get your dub on, because it's made of coffee extract. It's delicious. I still be drinking it. That's why I'm drinking when I have my little break. So get your dub on.
Once again, guys, thank you. If you can follow, hit the subscription. If you have any questions or whatever, reach out to us. Make sure you check out our shop. T-shirts still and merch is still up.
Yeah, so we actually have a little bit of an announcement for that. We have only, I believe, 50 left in inventory, and they are not disappearing. They will be selling out. So 50 mugs, 50 shirts are left on the website. Get them before they are gone at streamlabs.com/merch/PevGamer.
Do they still have hats?
Huh?
Do they still have hats? They don't have hats, right? Only for Pev Gaming.
Only the Pev Gamer ones. Yeah.
I'm going to get me one of those.
I'll ask them about the hats.
And check out Pev Gamer merch too, man. He's got a killer ass backpack, man.
Big time.
You gotta check it out, man.
And the notebooks.
Again, thank you for joining us, and sign up for the Patreon. You can hear us have a conversation.
Support your local comic stores. Go in there, buy some
God
books,
bless.
and
God
don't
bless.
forget, you can always convo with everybody up there. So we'll see you.
So read your comics and be nice to your parents. God bless.